Begin with what's happening in Gaza. 60 days of relentless war has killed at least more than 16,000 people in Gaza, including over 7,000 children and over 4,000 women. These are figures shared by the Palestinian Health Ministry. Israel has sharply intensified its strikes on the Gaza Strip, pounding the length of the Palestinian enclave and killing hundreds in a new, expanded phase of this war. The end of the temporary ceasefire and the start of the Israeli offensive in the southern Gaza Strip has set off another mass displacement. Thousands of civilians are fleeing to areas in west and south of Gaza's southern main city of Khan Younis, only to find shelters packed beyond capacity and a dearth of basic necessities. And on Friday, the Israeli military said that it had struck more than 450 targets in Gaza from land, sea and air in over 24 hours, the most since the truce collapsed last week. Also, horrific accounts of Hamas's sexual atrocities have come to the fore. On Monday, the United Nations heard accounts of sexual violence during the October 7 attacks by Hamas. During this meeting, the speakers also launched scathing attacks on women's rights activists and UN officials for not doing more to investigate or condemn these crimes. Israeli officials and frontline workers, senior US politicians and activists from both countries spoke at this meeting, organized in part by former Meta executive Sheryl Sandberg. Sandberg told those gathered that silence is complicity. Hamas denies that its fighters carried out sexual violence against women. Sandberg asked if the world should believe them or the women whose bodies tell us how they spent the last minutes of their lives, and called for a full and fair investigation from the UN. US President Joe Biden has also denounced this alleged sexual violence.
On October 7th, Hamas perpetrated rape and sexual violence, exploiting these unforgivable crimes as weapons of war. These were not merely sick, spur-of-the-moment decisions to defile and mutilate Israeli women and girls, to parade their naked bodies in the street while onlookers cheered. This was premeditated. This was planned. This was instructed.
This moment is so critical. We have come so far in establishing that rape is a crime against humanity, and we have come so far in believing survivors of sexual assault in so many situations. That's why the silence on these war crimes is dangerous. It threatens to undo decades of progress, to undo an entire movement.
And so with Israel now expanding its offensive as the war crosses the 2-month mark, I spoke to IDF's spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, in a CNN News 18 exclusive. Listen in. Now, we all know that fighting has now shifted to south Gaza, with the epicenter being Khan Younis. Two parts to my question. A, how much has Israel gained in its goal of wiping out Hamas? And secondly, how is Israel ensuring the safety of Palestinians who, as we all know, are now being used as human shields by Hamas, whether it's schools, hospitals, even mosques?
Indeed, the IDF is operating across the Gaza Strip. We continue our operations in the north that are still not completed, but also conducting operations in southern Gaza, specifically around the Khan Younis area and circling Khan Younis. We are every day engaging the enemy, seeking them out wherever they are, making sure that they can no longer ever hold the power of government, the power of the terrorist activities that they conducted on the 7th of October. Indeed, I would say that the operation is moving in accordance to our plan, with two core goals in mind. First of all, dismantling and destroying Hamas as a governing authority, an authority that utilized the powers of government to build a terrorist army that came into our homes, came into our villages, came into our farms. And second of all, operating and engaging in order to bring home the hostages, every last one of them.
Also on Monday at an event in the UN headquarters in New York, horrific accounts of sexual violence against women by Hamas during the October 7 attacks were shared. Prime Minister Netanyahu, as we all said, has also alleged global indifference. It was only in December for a first time that UN women condemned Hamas's crimes against women. As the IDF spokesperson, do you believe that the international community at large has mostly glossed over widespread sexual violence against women?
The IDF is concerned with the well-being of all of our hostages, all of the hostages that are being held in the clutches of Hamas. We've demanded that the international community, and specifically the International Committee of the Red Cross, have access to assess their well-being. Indeed, we have to bring home the hostages, every last one of them. And that is one of our war goals. That is exactly what we intend to do. At this stage, I would say the diplomacy around the international community, we would leave that to the diplomats while we continue our war efforts with the war fighters.